Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Strike Zone with St. Paul Saints Manager George Tsamis. Strike Zone is a weekly program that gives you, the fans, the opportunity to ask the St. Paul skipper questions about the Saints, baseball, or sports in general, or just seek George's wisdom about life events. In this week's episode, George provides us with some team updates for us. He gives us his take on baseball etiquette and beanballs, and George creates a happy anniversary moment for a young couple. Let's get right to Strike Zone. Let's welcome back Manager George Tsamis. George, let's first of all begin with team updates you have for us.
Yesterday, as you know, we signed Cody Scarpetta. We needed another starting pitcher, and I felt he did a good job yesterday. He threw well, especially for a guy that hasn't been out there since September. And good fastball, good breaking ball, good changeup. He has 3 quality pitches, and we think he'll be a good starter for us. And we put Mike Gilmart on the disabled list. There's no injury. It's more of the classification issue, and it's really unfortunate, and because he was doing really, really good, but sometimes that's the way it works in the league with the classification rules you got to follow, and you can go through all the high classification guys. There were 7 of them, and none of them deserved to go on the DL, but that's just the way it worked out, and it stinks. Pretty much stinks.
Why did you decide that Scarpetta was the guy that you wanted to fill in that spot?
Well, we wanted a quality starting pitcher. We needed another starting pitcher, and it's something that's been going on for a while, and just didn't know how things were going to play out, and I chose to sign him. If this doesn't work out, it's all on me. But it's just we had an extra infielder, so that's the reason why Gil Martin went on the disabled list. But it's really not fair to him, just the way it worked out, and it's not the first time that a guy has been bumped off the active roster because of the classification rules.
Well, Scarpetta sure looked good last night.
He looked good, especially for a guy that hasn't been out there in 8 months, and his stuff is real good. It's just obviously his command will get better and better the more he's out there. Before
we get into our fan questions this week, I did want to ask you about. I noticed as guys are standing out there in the on-deck circle. They're never really in the on-deck circle, so it's more kind of a suggestion, or how does that work?
That's a good one. That's on-deck circle. Yeah, I don't know if there is one because guys stand wherever they want, and they're in this stadium too. We're pretty close here, so you better pay attention. But even if you are paying attention, that foul ball comes. I don't know if you're going to have time to get out of the way because they're so close.
I thought that the on-deck batter had to be in that on-deck circle.
No, I've seen guys standing closer to the plate, way back there, and you're not supposed to be doing that, but there really is no set spot, so.
That's interesting. Okay, so let's head to our fan questions this week. We first of all begin with Mary from St. Paul, who says, you mentioned on the show that you were worried about your hitting, but aren't the Saints like first in runs scored? Were you maybe a bit overly pessimistic?
We scored some runs, but we're still not hitting the way we should, and we're not hitting good enough, and people can say whatever they want. They can say I'm being a baby about it, or that we're not scoring enough runs, but I know it. I've seen it since the first day here. Some games we swung the bats really well, and it's been nice, but we still can improve. Swinging the bats is, okay, if we're leading the league in runs, that's great, but I'm just saying that we still can swing the bats better.
Steve from St. Paul would like to know, what do you think are the biggest surprises in the American Association so far this season?
It's a little early. I wouldn't even really say surprises yet because there's a lot of teams doing well. There's good teams, and it's we'll have to wait a little bit longer on that one to see how this plays out here over the next few weeks.
Taylor from Minneapolis sent in a question last night. He says, Skipper, I think it is so cool that every team in the North Division is above 500. Do you like it better when the division is so competitive, or when you just run away with the division like last season?
I like it better when we run away with it, but that's not going to happen again. And our division's really tough. Sioux Falls is good. We played them. They have some good hitters. Their starting pitching's real good. They have some decent relievers. Fargo's real good. Winnipeg's real good. This is a tough division, but if you want me to answer that question, I would love to run away, but it's not going to happen.
Oliver from Woodbury asks, is it hard to shake the hand of an umpire before a game the night after he made a really bad call?
Over the years, they make mistakes, but we make mistakes as players and as managers. We make mistakes, and you got to forget about it the next day. And But to answer that question, sometimes if it's maybe not so much about the call, it's about what they say to you. That's at times that's when it's kind of tough because some comments, and I guess by me too, to the umpire are unnecessary. So I'm sure there's times you could probably ask the umpires that, and they probably feel the same way about the managers.
I was curious, after hearing that question, did you ever have a situation where you've said something and the umpire didn't really want to shake your
Yeah,
hand?
there's times I've said stuff. Well, there's never been a time where anybody refused to shake my hand. The umpire refused to shake my hand, but I'm sure there's times that they didn't like what I said to them, and there's times I didn't like what they said to me. That's the way it goes. It's heated, and that's baseball for you.
Carl from St. Paul wants to know, I was wondering, what do you do to fill out a roster spot when you were on the road for a long trip and you get an injury?
You fly somebody in. You get on the phone, get somebody in there as soon as you can. Sometimes it's tough. It depends where you are.
Are you able to, like, do you try to first of all find somebody that might be local to the area, or just look for the best talent?
You're looking for the best guys, but again, you got to make sure that you can get the guy in. So it's just some places are tough to get guys in.
Sam from Bloomington asks, what do you think about the manager pulling his player and for not running out a ground ball after he grounded back to the pitcher?
Yeah, I didn't see if that happened in a major league game. Is that the question?
Yeah, I believe so.
You know what? I understand it. I've done it before, and you know, there's times. So yeah, you want the guys to hustle, and you want, if they don't, you want them to know that they didn't do it right. But times you got to do what's best for the team too. If you're short on the bench, you can't yank them. You're gonna have to find another way to do it. But you hope that doesn't happen because it's unfortunate when it happens.
Well, I'm looking at that too. I saw a lot of criticism of this, but I'm thinking 150 times out of 151, and you ground back to the pitcher, you're out.
Yeah, but you still should run though. Even yesterday, Sonko hit a ground ball. He ran down. He ran down the line real good, hard. Bad throw, took him off the base, and he snuck by the tag. If he wouldn't have been hustling, he would have been out. So that's why you hustle. You never know. You think he's going to field it and throw it cleanly, but a high throw, you're hustling. That's the difference of beating it.
Bill from Minneapolis asks of you, are you glad the international rule is out for this season?
Yeah, you know what? I understood why they did it, and I didn't have a problem with it. But after seeing it for a year, maybe it's best that it's not, in the league. I think it's better without it. But then again, though, when we're playing a 15-inning game, ask me that again, and then I'll tell you I wish it was back. Because nobody wants to play 15-inning games. Players, fans, managers, coaches, nobody.
Jim from Maplewood would like to know from you, is it hard to sleep on the bus on these long road trips, and what do you do to pass the time?
Yes, it is hard to sleep on a bus. Yes, the long trips are brutal. They're as terrible as you think they are, but we all have to make them. We have DirecTV on the bus, we have movies on the bus, internet, so that helps some. But tomorrow or tonight was the beginning of the 14-day road trip, so it's going to be not fun, and hopefully we can get through it.
Well, that's quite a road trip, too. Phil from St. Paul asked you, he says, I'm curious what you would say, George. How often would you say that when a pitcher hits a batter, he did it intentionally? Is it more likely that they are accidents or on purpose?
I think some are intentional, but I think most of the time they're not, but you just really don't know. I guess only the pitcher really knows if he did it on purpose.
Is there a way that you would be able to tell if, does it look like something?
Yeah, when he throws it behind him, he misses him, and he throws it behind him again, and then you know it's on purpose.
Leah from Arden Hill says, I wish that these major leaguers would understand that these retaliation beatings are teaching young kids some really bad ideas. Thanks for being the kind of manager that has the players act the right way.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the beanball stuff. I'm not a fan of it, but it does happen, and you just hope nobody gets hurt. Some of them to me are so unnecessary. What's the point of even doing it? But that's the way it goes.
I think there was an incident between the Mets and the Dodgers where they beamed Dudley, and
I guess it was last night. I didn't see it, but that's what I had heard.
I heard that too. I was like, isn't this like a year later almost?
And then he hit 2 home runs too. I guess I believe one was a grand slam. I guess so. Doesn't always work out.
On the beating idea, John from Rochester would like to know, Jose Fernandez hit the mascot for the opposing team when he got too close to the bullpen. How cool is that?
I didn't see that, but as long as the mascot's okay, I think it's great. If the mascot's hurt, then it's not okay. And I don't think it was intentional. I don't know anything about it. I didn't see it. I just, hearing the question for the first time, so I don't know anything about it, and you hope that, everything's okay.
Mark from Ham Lake would like to know, did you see that University of Miami player that hit that, after he hit that home run? Come on, man, even you would drill that kid the next time you batted, right?
Yeah, I did see it. I don't know if it was at the bottom of the ninth or top of the ninth. It's okay to get excited when you hit a big home run to give your team the lead or to win the game. But again, some guys do that, and some guys get away with it, and some guys, people don't like it, and it's, again, I don't know if that was in the bottom. I don't know if that a walk off to win the game, or I don't know. I just saw the highlight of it real quick, and people act differently when they hit home runs.
I think he hit the home run to tie the game, and then they lost in extra innings.
Okay, well, there you go.
Ben from Mankato asked of you, why do so many pitchers seem to lose it in the fifth inning?
You know what? Maybe some guys, like Strzok, I didn't have much of a spring training. He's an example that first 4 innings he was nasty, beautiful, and I think maybe since he hadn't been out there that much, it's kind of the fifth inning. Maybe he got to his pitch limit, and it just happens sometimes. And as the season goes on, you hope they get stronger, and it won't happen.
Mitch from New Prague had an interesting question. How do you feel about guys making the one-handed catches?
I don't like one-handed catches, but I know sometimes when the guy's on the run, he has to make a one-handed catch. But those fly balls, pop-ups, I personally prefer 2 hands, but I guess if they catch it, I guess they're going to do what they want. But if you're going to catch it one-handed when you're camped under it, you better catch it.
Tom from Chicago has a question about your beloved Patriots. He says, George, there's a guy who's been sitting outside Gillette Stadium wanting the team to give him a tryout. I think he's been out there for like 3 or 4 weeks. The team should give him a tryout, shouldn't they?
Probably not. Unless he's like a real good, he's been a real good player in his career. No, they shouldn't, because if they do, then everybody's going to go sit outside and want to try out. So no, they shouldn't, unless the guy's career can, back it up.
You don't want a long line of guys sitting outside CHS Field, so you tell me.
That's what would happen if they let him.
Our last comment comes from David from Hudson, who has a statement. I guess he's become a George disciple out there. He says, Mr. Tsamis, I took my girlfriend to Chick-fil-A for our 1-month anniversary. When she questioned me about it, I told her it is your favorite place, and if it is good enough for her, or good enough for you, then it must be good enough for them. She didn't admit it too much, but she really liked the food. Thanks for the suggestion.
You're welcome, and I'm very proud of you for doing that. It's a good choice by you, and I'm sure if you guys are together, you'll be going back there many, many times.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us, George.
We want to thank Manager George Tsamis for joining us on Strike Zone this week. If you have your own questions you'd like to ask the St. Paul Saints skipper, please send them to us at askgeorge@minorleaguesportsreport.com. That's askgeorge@minorleaguesportsreport.com. Please have your questions to us by Saturday evening so we can give George a little time to review those questions before we record the show on Sunday. I want to thank you for joining us this week. I'm Rob Pannier, the managing editor of the Minor League Sports Report, and we'll see you next time on Strike Zone.